Hi, I'm Em, and this is Fanfaria. Today, we're talking gratitude. Gratitude. Something we don't really need a definition of because it's in most of our lives and we've been taught it from an early age. It's to be thankful, to appreciate things, to be grateful. So, that comes down to as simple as teaching manners to a child, to say thank you for something. But I guess it's that kind of programmed to say thank you for something, whereas gratitude is really looking for the things you really are thankful for and that you mean kind of at a much deeper level so that it will resonate and generate the positive emotion that kind of goes with it. So this is part of this season looking more at kind of the positive psychology side of things, building that resilience toolkit and giving kind of options of exercises to do or things to explore to help increase your resilience. So positive emotion increases resilience, and if we can sustain those positive emotions, because often they're fleeting, often happiness or joy or anything like that it can be a very intense emotion in the moment, but it tends to be gone fairly quickly, and you tend to find that you're back at your baseline before you know it, whereas negative emotions are very quick to appear and can be that bit easier to linger in. But if we can sustain the positive emotions when we experience them, and we can expand our emotional management skills to shift our negative emotions more regularly, we will find we can bounce back quicker. So this is kind of a concept within positive psychology called broaden and build, or broaden and build positive emotion. And the researcher behind it is Barbara Fredrickson. And this theory proposes that positive emotions help strengthen our intellectual and physical resources, all of which are going to enhance our overall well-being. But why was it top of mind today? Because it actually wasn't what I'd planned to record about at all. Today, gratitude flipped my day around. I woke up in a low mood. Couldn't really put my finger on why. Oddly enough, since I recorded the last episode on sleep, I haven't been sleeping that well, which is just a little ironic, but there you go. And I was just in a down place, and I had something that I read online which just hammered home that actually some of this that I do, like the talking I do here or interviews I do on other podcasts, were more far-reaching than maybe I had appreciated, and that there was some real change happening in areas that wouldn't necessarily have been happening if I hadn't been talking about what I talk about, and that overwhelmed me. It put me in a real period, or a really grateful mood, and it just flipped my whole day on its head. I was just literally seeing kind of the day through rose-tinted glasses, seeing every opportunity in front of me instead of every obstacle. I just had an outstanding kind of morning and day, and really felt that I was savouring that gratitude and trying to stay in the moment. And part of that, as we'll kind of get to talking about, can be ways to kind of stay in those positive emotions, can be to share them with other people. It can be to look back on and savour experiences or emotions you've felt before, or previous things you've been grateful for, and looking for the bright spots in your day, or looking forward to things that are fill you with gratitude. So anyway, that's kind of my day. I don't always wake up kind of bright, cheery, practicing all the positive psychology things I tell you all about and digging into my resiliency toolkit. I have down days just like everyone else. And today I managed to turn it around, and it affected me so profoundly. I thought that actually, no, today I'm going to talk about gratitude, because it is a huge tool in that resilience toolkit. It is a thing that's been studied an awful lot within positive psychology. It's found that having a practice of gratitude or being grateful decreases depression, increases pro-social behaviour, and decreases materialism. As a strength rather than an emotion, it contributes to subjective happiness and satisfaction with life. So, as I say, kind of positive psychology is all about increasing those positive emotions and managing to sit with them longer, or I say revoke them in terms of kind of savouring and looking back, but also sharing and the social side of it as well. So just going quickly back to, again, something that Barbara Fredrickson said, is that positivity puts the brakes on negativity. In a heartbeat, negativity can spike your blood pressure, whilst positivity can calm it. And positivity works like a reset button. And I think we can probably say we've all experienced that at home and at work. But in work, the negativity side of it can be the suggestion of a complaint or an accusation against you. It could be something going wrong that was easily preventable. It could be a staff member being off sick when you had a really big day or an important day that you needed to get through, and things that are beyond your control and aren't the fault of anyone else, but they just give you that immediate spike in terms of almost kind of flashpoints, is that you want your first reaction to be angry or blame someone else for something, or all of those kind of things. And yet sometimes just some calm, positive words can reverse it completely. And there's nothing more infuriating when you feel like that than a relentlessly positive person, because you can't get around it. It dispels those bad moods instantly. I kind of smile as I think about it, because my husband's really good at this. If I'm in a real stink of a mood and I just can't get out of it, or I'm just stuck wallowing in my own self-pity or anger or just fuming, he will just relentlessly try to make me laugh or smile, and it doesn't matter how mad I am. If he tries it for long enough, we'll get there and we'll both be laughing about it. And it is just a remedy, kind of humour fixes a lot of things, but it's more that example of a positive emotion to counter and diffuse the negative one and get you back into a more rational kind of state of mind in terms of kind of balancing these things out. And oddly enough, I ended up watching the series, or there's two seasons of the series Ted Lasso, which if you haven't been exposed to, then I highly recommend. It's on Apple Plus, which isn't a subscription I normally have, and I managed to binge watch it over a quiet weekend on the free trial, which I don't recommend for everyone because that's like 10 hours worth of TV, not particularly the best way to spend your weekend, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And lots of references for me being a Brit away from home, and obviously understanding all the soccer or football references, and it was just great. But essentially Ted Lasso is this force of positivity that sees the bright side on everything. He does have his low moments, but on generally he won't let you be negative. You can be negative to him and he'll spin it around and turn it around. And I had a nurse like that, where in the period I was burning out actually, and she was a real blessing because she just saw the light in everything. And was always encouraging about everything I was doing, either within dentistry or outside of it. I think at the time I was doing a lot to do with my fitness studies and starting out as a personal trainer and doing stuff with my group fitness as well. And it was like having a cheerleader on your side, just having someone that if I was talking down about myself or, oh, this isn't going to work, or I don't know why I'm doing this, they wouldn't join in and go, oh yeah, you're right. They would just constantly buffer you with seeing the bright side of something or the positive side of something, and almost just not letting you stay down, not acknowledging or letting your negativity kind of through their positivity. And this series, Ted Lasso, really reminded me of that. And it's just a great, funny, feel-good watch that there's nothing malicious in it. There's nothing dark in it. There's nothing kind of sharp. It's very refreshing. It's very different TV and very refreshing. And I definitely recommend checking it out. So that's Ted Lasso on Apple Plus. But anyway, kind of coming back to how we kind of turn this around for dentistry, and in terms of kind of gratitude and creating a practice for it. So gratitude's one of those things that it might be a positive emotion that you feel. It may be a strength that you have in terms of that you tend to have a tendency towards gratitude in most of the things that you do. But it's really a learnable habit or a learnable mindset in terms of it just needs practice. I say just practice because that's not easy. And it's cultivating that attitude of gratitude, rhymes unintentionally, and trying out the different kind of ways that gratitude has been presented as a practice, which some of it has come around from these are the ways that gratitude was studied in terms of what they got the study participants to do, and some of it in terms of just experimenting. It doesn't have to be something formal. It's just about reaching that place where you can see bright spots and you can see things that are working for you. So I'd probably put top of the list the 3 blessings exercise, or 3 good things, which is commonly explained as something to write down. So journaling at the end of a day, writing 3 things you're grateful for. It can be just mentally noting and thinking through the 3 things you were grateful for. As I say, this is one of the big ones that studies were based on. So it can seem quite trivial at first, and it can be difficult to get into, because I think the things I found is that when you start out, you're trying to think of all these big massive things, which isn't wrong. There's still things that you're kind of grateful for, but as you do it more and more and you feel like you're hitting those things again and again, it's looking for the smaller things to find gratitude in. Or a particularly effective one can be finding gratitude in a negative experience. So finding something to be grateful for out of something that didn't go your way that day. So journaling, very useful, something I sometimes do. I tend to like to do this more in terms of what I would call a gratitude prayer. So again, this kind of comes back to kind of what Granny would do if Granny had a Christian upbringing, I guess, in terms of prayers before bedtime, is that the last thing you do before you get into bed is say thanks for something. So the way I was brought up was not so much that prayers were to ask for great things for you, but it was to express thanks for things that were in your life and to say prayers for other people. So to wish for good things for other people or other people's experiences. And that's kind of how I've ended up evolving my most regular gratitude practice, which is the kind of a an internal thought process of thanking the wider universe for things that are in my life or have gone the way that they have, or again finding something to be grateful for out of negative experiences, out of things that you weren't expecting, that things that caused adverse results, but looking for the positive lessons to kind of come out of it would probably be the best way of looking at it. But there are plenty of other gratitude practices. One can be writing a letter. So writing a letter to someone that you're particularly grateful for, and detailing in this letter why and the context and things like that. And it's even more powerful if you can read this letter to that person or visit them to read it out loud to them and leave it with them. So I'm doing the positive psychology diploma at the moment, and I had to do it as part of that, but I've done other positive psychology courses, and quite often this is one that comes up, and it feels incredibly demanding and soul-searching to kind of do and to write the letter, but it feels incredibly uncomfortable to read it, or go face to face with someone and do it that kind of way. I've done the exercise before where I've never got to that stage. Actually, this last time around, I wrote a letter of gratitude to my eldest, because a couple of reasons. He's doing okay at the moment, but he had some self-confidence issues. He had just kind of was constantly doubting himself, and I think just seeing the negative in anything and everything. And I just wanted to write a letter to say how proud I was and grateful for him, and what about him and what he does and how he is and what kind of a brother he is and what kind of a son he is makes me proud, and that I'm grateful for, and to have him hear that and to leave him with the letter, and hopefully role model that it's okay to talk to other people like that, that it's okay to be emotional about it, because I think I was in tears as I was reading it in a good way, and it's a really powerful thing to do, but it takes some effort. It takes putting yourself in a really uncomfortable spot, but there's also looking at, as I say, reflecting on why. So it's one thing acknowledging the things you're grateful for. It's helpful to kind of ask yourself the next layer of questions is why is it grateful for you, and explore that. Savouring kind of goes hand in hand with gratitude. So savouring is trying to kind of stay within the positive emotion and trying to make it last, I guess. So on the course I was on, when we did this, we did it with eating a chocolate which had like a fancy crinkly wrapper on it that was shiny, and it was a hard chocolate on the outside and soft on the inside, and the idea that you would go through it slowly and mindfully and savour all the experiences you had on the way would completely change your experience of eating it versus had you just kind of shoved it straight down your cake hole. But it's savouring and kind of sitting in those positive emotions. So that can be savouring, can be looking back on things in the day, and this is kind of where these kind of three blessings is looking back at things that you were grateful for that you can then bring to the front of mind as a positive experience again, so you're getting the same exposure to that positive emotion. And I think that, again, today, my experience of sitting in gratitude and savouring helped to further my sense of purpose and meaning, and my sense of optimism and hope, and just, again, that kind of broaden and build is just positive emotions, building on positive emotions, and really amplifying each other and making it very hard for negativity to get in there and snuff that out. But what might all of that look like in a dental day. And there's a couple of ways of doing this too. So one is kind of getting to the end of the day, and whether this is when you're at home or whether it's that the last thing you do before you leave work is go through the day list you've had that day and look for the bright spots. And the bright spots might be the lady or man that was blown away by the difference it made to them with fixing their smile. That might have been a brand new set of dentures replacing some teeth that they weren't that proud about. It could be fixing up a broken tooth at the front. It could be something where you've visibly seen some or affected someone else's emotions and put positivity in their day, and being grateful for being a part of that. It could be that a sense of achievement from a really difficult procedure that you thought was maybe pushing the boundaries of what you were capable of that day, or what your team was capable of with the equipment you had and the day you had and the patient you had. So I think it's quite important, particularly if you are coming away and feeling drained and feeling negative about your day, is maybe not to try and push that aside and find the positive emotion from other parts of your life, which is helpful. Is maybe take the look back at the day you're trying to forget and pick out a high spot, a bright spot to be grateful for and to take home with you on the ride home, rather than necessarily we have a tendency to focus on the negative, and that can kind of stem back to evolutionary reasons in terms of threat perception. So it could be looking for that. It could be at the start of your day, and again, looking at the day list. We're computerized, but I still have a printout of my day list, and you could take a highlighter to it and look at the things that you expect could go well, or that you are looking forward to because it's that lovely patient you like to have a chat with, or it's a procedure that you really enjoy and you're looking forward to, or it's it could, you can highlight the lunch break. I know that sounds really silly, but it could be that you're looking forward more to catching up with the rest of the team. It could be that you're looking forward to chatting to your hygienist over a joint case, and you highlight that because you've both got the same patient in and you want to catch them for that. So there's lots of things in terms of, you could start your day looking for bright spots, you can finish your day looking back for bright spots. A highlighter is quite a powerful tool in the right hands. It can be debriefing with your nurse, so that can be at the end of the day, or it can be after a procedure. So I'm quite guilty of this. I think I just like to say things out loud to kind of cement them in. But if I've had something that's gone really well, or something that's been difficult and I've been wrestling with kind of what treatment we're planning for the next stage of it, is my poor dental nurse. I explained through a lot of it and join them in that. And again, in doing that, trying to highlight what went well. And some of it is a bit of self-congratulation, and some of it's thanks for the support you've had and the reason things went really well in terms of from your nursing side of it. So another thing can just be focusing on complimenting your staff and your team and thanking them for their day. I had a boss I used to work for early on that his first thing he said is, this might sound silly, but I want you to make sure that the last thing you do before you leave a practice is you go around and thank everyone for their day and their effort, which I think is a nice kind of generalised touch because it does set the mood. But I think it's a case of recognising when a day's been tough for your nurse or for your receptionist, and thanking them for their efforts in getting through that, thanking them for the little things that have gone above and beyond, thanking them for the attention to detail, or something they've anticipated, or something they've just helped go a lot smoother than it could have, for chatting and diffusing kind of anxieties with a patient, so their interaction with the patient perhaps. And it all kind of comes down to some other work that was done on ratios of positive to negative interactions, and although the ratios were retracted, the idea is still the same, is that we should be interacting with a bias towards the positive rather than the negative, and that we all need to remember that the absence of a criticism is not a compliment. So there's a lot of things that we just don't comment on, that really it wouldn't be much effort, and it will make you both feel much better to pay that compliment as the giver and the receiver. In terms of, again, that kind of debrief is sharing gratitude and sharing that positive emotion, because one, it rubs off and the person that you're sharing it with receives part of that kind of benefit, but two, you kind of go back to that savouring and helping to stay in the positive emotion that little bit more. So there's plenty to find positive about even the darkest of days in dental surgery, and it's all too easy to focus on the negative because it's what we like to beat ourselves up about. It's what we like to doom and gloom and catastrophize forecast over, in terms of, oh, that might be a complaint and this, that and the other. It's a natural tendency to focus on the negative and think of the worst in terms of just a survival point of view. It takes effort and practice to be the other way around and to look for those bright spots, pay those compliments, find the highlights in your day and in your book, find the things that you're grateful for. After my burnout, after doing personal training and then suddenly being almost kind of a small business owner in terms of trying to generate my own books and my own clients and kind of keep things coming and working on my own pricing, and realizing that it was an awful lot of effort and a lot of time that, whilst very rewarding because it was a much more positive environment, or it felt more positive at the time, wasn't as financially rewarding as just getting through a morning of dentistry. And there's the gratitude for that side of things, that we're whilst it can be a bit, you can view it a bit as a honeypot in terms, or a honey trap, we're very privileged in the fact that whilst it is an intense job to do, in terms of when you compare it to other jobs, you could probably get away with doing relatively little of it for the same amount of money, which allows the likes of myself to be part-time and get to balance up how much time do I want to spend at work versus how much time do I want to spend at home with my family. So there's all sorts of spins you can put on this to find gratitude within it and foster positive emotion, and just gradually build up that resilience, but also just gradually just switch that mindset and flip it round to looking for the positive first, and being that person that I remember encountering that doesn't let people around them talk badly about themselves, be unkind to themselves, or put themselves down, because that barrage of positivity will win over and diffuse it in the end. And even if it's not necessarily just not agreeing, it can be being a bit silly and getting a smile and a laugh, as I say, so the way we kind of work it at home. So again, there's loads in there in terms of what to do. I suggest the first place is just to kind of look at your practices as they are. Do you feel that gratitude is something you tend to look towards, or is part of your daily life, or is a strength of yours? Did it come up on the VIA inventory as a high-ranking strength? Or is it something that you feel you could work on? And just pick one place to start. And as I say, the 3 blessings is probably the easiest, even if you're just starting with one. So be it journaling one good thing at the end of the day, or highlighting one good thing out of your clinical diary, or saying a gratitude prayer and thanking the world or the universe for just one thing, and just start it from there and start to see the knock-on effects. Because you got this. So that's me for this week. As always, you can catch me on Fang_Farrier at Twitter, and It's a Dentist Life on Facebook. This week I was also in an episode, or interviewed in an episode of the Protrusive Dental podcast, which I highly recommend you check out as a podcast, not necessarily just to hear my dulcet tones again. I'll catch you next week. Cheers.